Welcome to the second of the How Do I Complete My Title Search tutorials called Chain of Title. And this is focusing on the work you do with the Registry of Deeds. If you have the name of the property owner or a book and page reference to the deed into the property owner, you can go to the registry itself or the registry's website. Whether you go to the registry itself or you look at the material online, the registry for the most part contains books. Whether they're virtual or actual, it depends on whether you're physically there or looking at it online. And there are three basic types of books, and those are the grantor indices, the grantee indices, and the record books. There's also something called plan books there, and we'll briefly mention that in a moment. The record books are filled with copies of documents that are filed, and they are filed in sequential order, so that each document that gets recorded is found at a page immediately after the document that was recorded just before it, and immediately before the document that was recorded just after it. So it's sequential in order, and every document is assigned a page number within a given book, and once there's a certain number of pages, they move on to the next book number, and each book is sequential, beginning with 1 or 100, up till, and then we started in 1700, give or take, recording these things. So that's the kind of volume of books you have sitting at the registry. And so each book then has a book and page reference, and that book and page reference is a reference to a record book and a page within a given record book. And then there are the grantor indices and the grantee indices. The grantor indice lists in alphabetical order the name of each grantor who made a transfer in a given year or period of years that the index is covering. So it's listed alphabetically in the index. The grantee index happens to be a mirror image of the grantor index, and it lists the transfer by the name of the grantee as opposed to the grantor, meaning the recipient, not the transferor, during that given year or period of years that the indice happens to cover. Like I said, there are also those plan books, and they have copies of plans filed with the Registry of Deeds, and these, again, are filed sequentially, and they're given book and page references sort of in the same way that the record books work. When you're looking at the website, each set of books that I just mentioned is a tab on the front page of the website. So here's the plan book page. Here's the book and page, so you can get to the books. So that's the record book set. There's the plan book set. And this name tab has the grantor and the grantee indice that I was just telling you about. So once you have either a property owner name or a book and page reference, you're ready to go to the Registry of Deeds website or the registry itself. So we're going to go to the registry website, which is www.salemdeeds.com. And it's going to come up, you're going to see this screen, and you could click on the bullseye and it'll bring the whole thing up. So if you have your book and page, you could type it right here, 27255, whoops, 272, you can see I've done this before, 55, page 482, and click image, and it's going to download right here at the bottom on the left. You click on the download, and you're going to see a copy of your deed into your current owners, Richard, Samantha, and Catherine Brown. And it's recorded in 2007. And you want to make a copy of that, so you hit the print button, hit the print, goes through a series of steps. You start here. I'm not going to print myself right now, so I'm going to cancel, but you'll make a copy for purposes of your outside project. Then what you'll see is that it mentions the grantor, the grantee, the legal description to the property, and this thing called a book and page reference, and then has the signatures of the grantors, which is then notarized. And this is the next piece of information you need to collect. So on a piece of scrap paper, I would write 24652, page 423, and then go back to the record book tab to make a copy, to punch that in so I can make a copy of that document. All right. But before we do that, I'm going to show you, if you only have the name of your current owner, how you do that. You go to the Name tab, and I usually go to the Grantee Indice, okay? Or you could, if it's a pretty uncommon name, you could leave it on both grantor and grantee, because you won't bring up a whole lot of entries, typically. And then you got to expand your search. I usually start with a 10-year period, so I'd go back to 2005. If for some reason that doesn't produce any results for you, I'd go back to 2000 or maybe 1999. But anyway, we'll stick with 2005. And then I type in the name of the least common name of all of my owners. So in this case, out of Richard, Catherine, and Samantha Brown, I would go with Samantha. So I would type something like that. And then you click the search button, and it brings up a whole bunch of entries, but the one we're looking for right now is that deed conveying the property to Samantha as a grantee. And there you go. So you click on it, and it's going to open it up. And again, you can grab this book and page reference to the prior deed. Okay? And then you go, to the bullseye, go to the record book tab, type that reference in, 24652, page 423, hit image. It's going to download. Click on it. It's in the bottom left. And there's the deed from the McCuskers, who sold it to Richard, Catherine, and Katie, who were the grantors in the deed at 27255, page 482. And then, if you were physically at the registry, you could pull out this record book, which is a book sitting on a shelf, just like in a library, with a number on the spine. And they're all numbered on the spine, but you'd pick out the book that's got the 5990 on the spine, and you'd be able to open up to page 544, make a copy of that deed, and if you look at that deed, there'll then be another reference to a deed behind that. And for purposes of, if you're trying to do a full title search in Massachusetts, you have to go back to a deed that's at least 50 years old, which would mean the date down here would have to read something in 1965, given that I'm making this tutorial in the middle of 2015. That date, that year will change every year after this. And so you'd make copies of all of your deeds going back 50 years. However, for purposes of your outside project, we're only going to do a rundown of the Brown owners, if you will, Richard, Catherine, and Katie Brown from 2005 to 2007, and Richard, Catherine, and Samantha Brown from 2007 to the present day. And that is pretty much how you collect your chain of title. If you have more time, try watching the Search of the Grantor Index tutorial.